Good afternoon, United Independent Movement family. So good to be here with you guys again on this Friday afternoon. Well, while we're waiting on a few more people, or rather on people to join this live feed, I just want to take this time and express honor to our president of the party, President Neil de Beer. I just want to honor you for the hard work that you're investing into this political party. I want to honor you for the time and effort that you take in serving us as a people. Thank you for the time and effort that you spend in growing this party. We see all the sacrifices that you make. We see what it is that you are investing into this party as a person in all aspects of your life. And to that, we express great honor to you as the leader of this political party. And we would have it no other way than to have you lead this party into the future as we move progressively and also aggressively towards 2024, as we have decided in an undisputable fact that we need to be in parliament, and we know that you're going to be in parliament, and that is what we all are working towards. So we want to express honor to you as the president of the party, and we want to let you know that we value you, we appreciate you, and we see how you're fighting for this country, for its people, and we see every effort that you display in ensuring that South Africa becomes a better place. I believe with all my heart, with unwavering belief, that you are ordained, you are called for a time such as this to lead South Africa and its constituencies into a prosperous future. And then also I would like to express honor to our Vice President Fatima Abdul. Thank you. Thank you for your generous heart. Thank you for being on the ground. Thank you for your personality and contribution towards this party. We value you, we appreciate you, and your efforts that you display towards building this party is equally appreciated. It's valued and it's held in the highest honor. Then to our SG Jacques Talliard, thank you. Thank you for always drafting up documentations. Thank you for typing policies. Thank you for ensuring that our structures are implemented. We know sometimes it can be a strenuous exercise, but I want to honor you as well. You are doing an excellent job behind the scenes in ensuring that our documents stay up to date, that our constitution remains one of honor and integrity. Thank you. And then to our party leadership and our NEC, I want to express honor to all of you guys as well. Thank you so much for all your hard work and the efforts that you guys are putting in behind the scenes, all the late nights and all the sacrifices to ensure that we build our party daily as we are building progressively and also aggressively towards 2024, towards the national election, as we have come to believe that the United Independent Movement is becoming and will be a party and a force to be reckoned with. Well, while we're still waiting on a few more people to tune in, I would like to express once again our 5 C's. I believe that our 5 C's should be that which every United Independent Movement member holds in their heart. They must engrave it in their mind and they must embed it on their hearts. 5 C's. 1, capital. The United Independent Movement will bring the capital back to its people. 2, constitution. The United Independent Movement will never regulate the constitution to satisfy its own personal needs and desires. 3, Christ. South Africa will have Christ being brought back under the leadership of the United Independent Movement. 4, crime. Under the United Independent Movement, crime will be minimized. And then 5, corruption. Under the leadership of the United Independent Movement, we will ensure that crime, or rather corruption, is uprooted at its core and that every corrupt leader is removed. Well, I just want to greet a few people here before we get started. Thank you so much to Sean for tuning in. Thank you to Sari. Thank you to Bronwyn. Thank you to Rosie. Thank you to Trish, Rosemary. Just want to greet a few more people that's coming on. And then our VP is here as well. Thank you, VP. While you're here, I might as well just express honor to you again. Thank you once again for who you are to this party, to who you are for us as the next generation of leaders, and then also for who you are to the constituents of South Africa. We value you and we love you and we appreciate you. And equally so, I've expressed great honor to our President Neil de Beer, that we value you and we hold you in high regard, sir. And we can't do this without you. So today I want to just speak about basic stuff that I believe should be revisited. Sorry for the dog that's barking in the background. The neighbor's dog is barking, but it's almost a representative of every party that's barking up against the United Independence Movement's progress. They remain dogs that bark. So it is said that lions don't respond to the bark of a dog. And I believe that the United Independent Movement, we're going to be lions, lion and lionesses. That's who we are. So just forgive me for the dog that's barking in the background. But it's such a privilege to be here with you guys here again on this Friday afternoon. I want to speak about human rights. I believe we're going to speak about that in not great detail, but just touch on the basics as we revisit the basics, that you should understand what your human rights are, and you should exercise those human rights. And then we're going to speak about equality, human dignity, and then we're going to close this live as we speak about life. So these are stuff that we're not going to go into detail about. The detail on all of these subjects can be pretty much intense, but we're just going to touch the surface, as I want to ignite a passion in you to go and study your rights as an individual and as a citizen of South Africa. And more than study it, exercise and stand firm in exercising your human rights as an individual. So what are human rights? What are human rights? Once again, if you just come onto this live feed, and if you've just joined us, please click the share button and make sure that you caption it. Join the United Independent Movement Party. So what are human rights? Human rights are rights that everyone should have simply because they are human. In 1948, the United Nations defined 30 articles of human rights in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It established universal human rights on the basis of 1, humanity, 2, freedom, 3, justice, and 4, peace. South Africa has included indivisible human rights in our own Bill of Rights, Chapter 2 of our Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996. The articles of our Constitution can only be changed by 2/3 majority in Parliament, which means it is very difficult for anyone, including the government, to take away the basic rights of any citizen. We need to know this. We need to understand this, because in the absence of us coming back to the basics of our human rights, we will kind of feel obligated to become the servant to that which now is happening within our nation, where there are forced vaccinations being forced upon us as citizens. It has become, and it remains, our human right to vehemently stand up against what they are forcing us to do as Republicans of South Africa. The Bill of Rights preserved in our Constitution is the cornerstone of our constitutional and representative of democracy. The Constitution, as our supreme law, means that no laws may be passed that goes against it. In other words, you cannot be forced, I'll use one example, to take the vaccination. Being forced to take the vaccination is then the supreme law that is being surpassed. It is trying, the government is trying to surpass supreme laws of our Constitution. That should not happen. The Bill of Rights also comprehensively addresses South Africa's history of oppression, colonialism, slavery, racism, and sexism, and other forms of human violations. Any government that forces you, I'll use this example because it's trending at the moment amongst many other things, any government that forces you to vaccinate is violating your human dignity and your human right as an individual. The Bill of Rights embeds the rights of all people in our country in an enduring affirmation of the democratic values of human, 1, dignity, human, 2, equality, and human, 3, freedom. You need to embrace your human dignity. You need to enhance yourself in your human equality, and you need to firmly root yourself in expression of your human freedom. In that way, you become a force to be reckoned with. You stand up and stand firm in knowledgeable insight about who you are as an individual, as you exercise without being apologetic about it, where you exercise your human rights as an individual within South Africa. Human Rights Day in South Africa happens on the 21st of March. Human Rights Day in South Africa is historically linked to the 21st of March 1960 and the events of Sharpeville. On that day, 69 people died and 180 people were wounded when police fired on a peaceful crowd that had gathered in protest against past laws. I'm telling you, man, a day is coming in South Africa, and I think that day is now, where we're gonna need both people who will understand their basic human rights, and people who will be brave enough and bold enough to march and stand in solidarity against whatever laws are going to be passed that violates their human dignity and their human freedom. 21st of March 1960, this day marks an affirmation by ordinary people rising in unison to proclaim their rights. The day is coming and the day is here where we must proclaim our rights as people. We must proclaim our rights, be colored, Indian, black, white, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of the generation. We must stand firm in proclaiming our rights. This day became an iconic date in our country's history that today we commemorate as Human Rights Day, as a reminder of our rights and the cost that was paid to treasure our human rights. We must treasure our human rights. There was a cost that was paid. People paid with their lives for us to have our human right today. And anyone and any person and any government and any leader who ever seeks to violate your human right is what I would call, he would be an abomination to you as a citizen of South Africa. And that is why you must exercise your human rights vehemently and unapologetically if anyone ever tries to get you to jeopardize who you are in exercising your human rights. In our modern era, when South Africa held its first democratic election with Nelson Mandela elected as the first democratic president on the 21st of March, Human Rights Day was officially proclaimed as a public holiday. On Human Rights Day, South Africans are asked to reflect on their rights, to protect their rights and the rights of all people. Watch this now from the following. So we are asked as citizens of South Africa to protect our rights, to protect our human rights, to protect our dignity, to protect the equality that we've experienced, to protect our freedom. We are asked vehemently to protect the rights of humanity in the following order. To protect our rights from being violated, 1. 2, to protect our rights irrespective of race. 3, gender. 4, religion. 5, sexual orientation. 6, whether you are a national foreigner or not. 7, human rights apply to everyone equally. Humanity remains humanity, regardless of race, color, creed, or gender. We all are human. If you cut me now, the same color of blood that will come out of my life is the same color of blood that will come out of your life. So humanity must be referenced to the color of blood we all have running through our lives. On that premise, and we now conclude, we all remain a part of humanity, regardless of our diversity. What are your rights? What are your rights as an individual? If you don't know your rights, you by default allow yourself to become one on which people, places, things, leaders, governments, and political parties will experience on. Your life is more than an experiment, but you forfeit your life to be an experiment in the absence of not understanding your rights as a citizen of South Africa. So what are your rights? In terms of the Bill of Rights, everyone has the right to life. Everyone has the right to equality. And everyone has the right to human dignity. All persons have the right to citizenship and security. Persons and groups are entitled to freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of belief and opinion, freedom also of expression. All peoples have the right to demonstrate, to picket, and also to petition. Everyone has the right to be free of forced labor, servitude, and slavery. All persons have the right to privacy and to exercise political authority and rights. All have the right to access information and just administration action. All have the rights when arrested, detained, or accused. They have the right and must be given the right to have access to courts. All have the right to freedom of movement and residence and of trade, occupation and profession. In the workplace, everyone has the right to engage in trade unions and labor movements. Anyone has the right to purchase property anywhere, and everyone has the right to basic education. I'm just sharing basic information with us here that I believe sometimes in the hustle and bustle of life, we sometimes deviate away from the basic foundations that's actually the strength of who we are as citizens in South Africa. Everyone has the right to language and culture and communities. And not least, everyone has the freedom of religion and belief. The Bill of Rights also specifies the rights of persons belonging to cultural, religious, or linguistic communities and the rights of children. In addition, there are specific laws to safeguard women and protect children. If there are, of which there is, specific laws to safeguard and protect children, why are we not standing up against the government wanting now to force our children, innocent children, to be vaccinated? We must vehemently pursue what it is that are attached to these specific laws so that we can become protectors of our children, so that we can become protectors of the next generation. The United Independent Movement will stand and understand that nothing must be passed that contradicts the Constitution and laws of South Africa. We as a leadership will fight so that the Constitution of this country can be exercised and implemented, as opposed to it being undervalued and regulated for personal needs and desires. This Constitution is there to serve South Africa. It is not there to enrich any leader or to give any leader supreme power over citizens of South Africa. No, the Constitution remains the guideline. And as the United Independent Movement leadership, we will search the Constitution and hold this government accountable for any decision that they make that contradicts the Constitution and the laws of our Constitution. We must protect our rights, as it is our right to include a healthy environment, housing, healthcare, food, water, and social security. It is a basic human necessity and a basic human right that you and I have the privilege, according to our Constitution, to exercise. We can exercise our right to a healthy environment. We can exercise our right to housing. We can exercise our right to healthcare, to food, and to water. and to social security. It is a human right. Also, Parliament has a role to play in Human Rights Day, and this is their role. Parliament is guided by the values and principles of the Constitution. The tasks of Parliament are to represent and to empower the people, and to facilitate meaningful and active involvements of civil society in its process. The constitutional functions of Parliament are now to pass laws and to oversee executive action. Parliament must ensure that democratic processes become well known and that they reach all citizens of the country, and that the civil liberty and every citizen is maintained. Parliament too has a responsibility. Parliament too must be held accountable. Parliament too must come to the party and play the game more than sit on the sidelines and watch and become content with our country burning to the shreds. Nelson Mandela says the following: to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. We should never deny our people their right to live in a better South Africa. This goes against their human rights. The future and the past conflicts always precedes today's violations of human rights. Human rights are not a privilege conferred by government. They are every human being's entitlement by virtue of the fact that they are part of humanity. Those are the words of Mother Teresa. Let's now move over on to equality. Equality, by definition, means many things, but I would like to describe it within the following context. Equality and racism is one of the 8 focus areas identified by the South African Human Rights Commission in order to effectively fulfill its constitutional mandate of promoting, protecting, and monitoring the realization of human rights in South Africa. I want you to type in the screen, I need to exercise my human rights. I want you to type in the screen there, I need to exercise my human rights. If you're going to watch this now, or if you're going to watch it later, I want you to type in the screen, I need to exercise my human rights. The constitutional entrance right to equality and the equal protection and benefit of the law must be understood against the country's history of inequality, racism, homophobia, and other related intolerances. It is for this reason, therefore, that since its inception, the Commission has been concerned with the eradication and inequality and unfair discrimination, particularly based on the following: 1, race; 2, gender; 3, sex; 4, disability; 5, sexual orientation. The Commission's continued strategic focus on the right to equality has been informed by the increase in inequality, or rather in equality-related complaints logged with the Commission. Since 2012, the Commission has seen a steady increase in the numbers of equality-related human rights violations. In 2012 and 2013 financial year, equality-related complaints accounted for 10% or 511 of all complaints received. In 2013 and 2014 financial year, the figure increased to 11%. And in 2015 and 2016 financial year, equality-related complaints constituted the highest number of complaints received by the Commission. This now totaling 16% of 716 of all complaints received. To date, the highest number of complaints received by the Commission is equality-related human rights complaints. All of the equality-related complaints received In the last few years, complaints relating to unfair discrimination based on race have consistently been the highest complaints received by the Commission. These are valuable information and insights that we must get to understand and become acquainted with. Equality has no race, equality has no gender, equality has no religion, equality has no sexuality, equality has no sexuality, as I said, because we all are equally, and we all are equal citizens of South Africa. Perfect love cannot coexist without equality, or rather, perfect love cannot exist without equality. We should never call for black power. We should never call for white power. We should never call for colored power. We should never call for Indian power. No, we should stand together as black, as white, as colored, and as Indian. We should stand together and call for equal power in and over South Africa. Because here's the deal. Whatever is my right as a man is also the right of everybody else. We all form part of humanity, regardless of the diversity we experience. It is actually the diversity that we experience as humanity that empowers our humanity. So what is human dignity? Human dignity is the recognition that human beings possess a special value intrinsic to their humanity, and as such are worthy of respect simply because they are human beings. The concept of human dignity is relatively new in international and domestic constitutional law. Dignity is protected as a value or as a right, or even both. In international law and many domestic jurisdictions, it is difficult to define human dignity in a legal context, as the concept is not defined in the first international document which recognizes inherent human dignity and the protection thereof. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was drafted in 1946, as many international and national documents enacted thereafter. Despite dissensus regarding the widespread use of the concept, dignity has come to display three elements in constitutional adjudication post-World War II. The ontological element, which entails that human beings have equal inherent human dignity that cannot be waived or diminished. The second element being the claim that inherent human dignity has to be recognized and respected. And the limited state claim as the third element, which entails that states have a positive obligation to progressively realize human dignity through the mechanism of socio-economic rights. It is widely accepted that these elements root in Kantian moral ethics, which holds that man's autonomy is based upon universal dignity, as a result of which man should never be used as a means to an end, but only as a means for and to himself. Immanuel Kant expressed this idea through formulation of a categorical imperative, namely that everyone's inherent human dignity has to be respected and protected universally. The preamble of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1946, Article 1.1 of the German Basic Law and Section 10 of the Constitutional Rights of the Republic of South Africa of 1996 embody the elements of Kant's categorical imperative. As a result, the three elements are applied as a definitional term of human dignity in German and South African constitutional adjudication. Based on these elements, it can be argued that the current idea of universal inherent dignity, at least in Germany and South Africa's law, comports with Kant's idea that man should never be used as a means to an end, but only should man be used as a means to empower himself. What are these basic elements as we come to a close? These basic elements are: one, the ontological claim, or rather the ontological 32 claim, which refers to man's unique qualities that are priceless and irreplaceable and constitute every individual's inherent dignity. Two, these basic elements are the recognition and respect for inherent dignity as it relates to types of treatment that are inconsistent with inherent dignity as prescribed by international and national laws. 3. Building on the relational claim, the third common element as the limited state claim. This embodies the Kantian idea that the state should exist for the sake of the individual and not vice versa. That's so important. The state should exist for individuals and not vice versa. As we come to a close, I would like to share the following quotes of well-known men and women who has walked this earth and who has given their life to politics, such as Nelson Mandela and many others. I quote from them: "No power on earth can destroy the thirst for human dignity. Human dignity is the recognition that human beings possess a special value intrinsic to their humanity and as such are worthy of respect simply because they are human beings. When it comes to human dignity, we cannot and should never make any compromises. When we achieve human rights and we achieve human equality and we achieve human dignity for all people, only then will we begin to build a peaceful nation, a sustainable nation, and one of prosperity for every citizen within the Republic of South Africa." So what is life? Your life is directly impacted by how you exercise your human dignity, your human rights, and live in your human level of equality. Because life is not about finding change. Life is about creating, pioneering, and trailblazing immovable and unshakable foundations on which life-changing foundations can be built. Because your happiness in life, your happiness for your kids within this country, yes, it can be derived from many things such as your religion, such as your family, but at the core of what keeps your job going, what keeps your business going, what keeps your child studying, your happiness in this life will always find its residue or part of it in who you have voted for. All of us has dreams to accomplish in South Africa. All of our dreams for South Africa, therefore, will only come true if we build it on human rights, human equality, human dignity, and with the great unmovable and immovable courage and also unshakable fortitude to pursue lasting change. I conclude with the following. We should never accept anyone's definition of change if South Africa's past is still present in our everyday reality. United Independent Movement family, I would like to end this live again by expressing great honor to our President, Neil de Beer, equally so to our Vice President, Fatima Abdul, also to our SG, Jacques Talliard, and to our NEC leadership and to every other leader, our REC teams, our REC leaders. You guys are doing an amazing work. I value you guys. I honor your contribution to this party. I honor your contribution to our communities. I honor your uniqueness in contribution to this country. You are loved, you are appreciated, and you are valued. And together, United Independent Movement family, we go because together we will as we move progressively and aggressively towards 2024. God bless you. Love one another. Love your family. Speak in love. Live with a heart of compassion. Live with words of reasoning, a perspective of clarity, and a life that's worthy of sacrifice. Love your family, have an amazing weekend, and look after yourself. Because this country will change if you vote for the United Independent Movement in the national election in the year 2024. God bless you. Love one another. Thank you so much for being here in this Friday afternoon.